one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. Just gotta mean something, you. They gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
Look, I'm through with this false persona. I can't do the Mr. Goody two-shoe shit any longer. Y'all check y'all hoes at the door while I'm putting it on her. Feel less responsible for my actions when I say I'm on the edge and these niggas just keep harassing. Killing people I love, man, this shit just a crime of passion. I know this isn't me, boy, stop asking me what didn't happen. I've been talking to my demons, y'all really thought I was capping. Now y'all scared cause you found that I'm really about all the action. Don't do the pretend shit, all of my problems for instance. Tugging the cheek over tension, nice that we can barely mention. I would say I moved on, but I know that shit hard to convince it. I sleep at ease when she pull up like a hardy convention. Never been harder to fit in. I know niggas, no pot to piss in. Needing assistance. Also, no niggas ran plays with pistons. Both hold wisdom. I sleep in silence, knowing everything good with the profit. I checked the summary last month, made 11 deposits. Everything is big up on the boy, feel like Christopher Wallace. Strong arm the game, who gon' stop him? That nigga too brolic. I've had enough of they twisted logic, that shit retarded. I question everything. I made the wrong choice between a paddock or a wedding ring. Hope you catching everything. They get goosebumps when I spit like when a net is seen.
Soft. Overrated. Pretty boy. A bitch.
Greatness. Greatness happened?
Greatness.
Really?
You got a chance to witness greatness at its highest order. Skip, what word do I want to use? Was this the crescendo? Was this the zenith? The apex? The denouement?
That's a good word. I like that word. That's a good Hollywood word.
Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. I am your host, Saint, and we just got done watching the NFC AFC championship games. If you remember, I predicted that both teams that won would win this week. I'm feeling real good. We're going to start off talking about so much to get to, but I want to start off talking about the Chiefs game, but I want to start off by talking about Patrick MaGOAT. Trying to tell you, bro, most talented quarterback I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm telling you, this dude is unreal. I said going into the game, bro, last week, if Pat is at 70, 80%, they win in this game. I picked him to win the game anyway, so that clearly meant to you I didn't give a damn what percentage he came in because I wasn't switching my pick. Because the fact remains, bro, as great as Joe Burrow seemed to be to a lot of people, I done made it very clear. It's only two generational quarterbacks in the NFL, young quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. That's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Pat Mahomes, those two dudes I have seen make players better. I've seen them lift situations which they probably should not win or be good in. And I've seen them win, lift teammates up, have players playing better than because of how great they are. I've seen that with those two. Going into this game, my entire mindset was it don't matter how smart I know football wise I am. I don't care how much it makes sense to pick the Bengals, the better defense, the better, far better weapons on offense. I didn't care about none of that. They beat them the last 3 times. Didn't care. I said it. Pat Mahomes was going to have a Pat MaGOAT type of game because he can get to that level where even when all the odds is stacked against him, he can still lift up and rise up and win like a superhero movie. I mean, because that's basically superhero movies nowadays. You know, it don't matter what the odds look like. Eventually, the superhero is going to win the situation. You know what I'm saying? Superman complex type shit. But I knew that if it was a quarterback that was going to be able to... See, I got nothing against Joe Burrow. Like I said, I think he's a top 5 quarterback. However, I don't think I've ever seen Joe Burrow have to lift up players on his team. I talked about how great those 3 receivers are all year. They had all 3 of them had big spots in this game. All of them provided big moments and showed you who they are. But it's this thing where Pat Mahomes lose. Pat Mahomes didn't even come into this game with a great receiving core. He came into this game with a bunch of 2s and 3s. And the only 2 is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Everybody else is a 3. He lose Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, and he lose his other receiver. I can't remember his name at the moment. McCole Hardman. And now all he playing with is Valdez Scantling, who now forced to be a number 1. Travis Kelce, who is a generational tight end and the greatest tight end I think I'd have ever seen with my own 2 eyes, greater than Gronkowski. And as you put it on the back of Pat MaGoat, and for most quarterbacks, you say, I don't know how we're going to win this game, bro. It's no way we win this game because it's nobody my quarterback can throw it to. But with Patrick fucking Mahomes, bro, it's just something about this dude, man. That's why if you know how to watch football, like, and you're not just watching it as a fan or in a biased sense where you can watch it. If you somebody who a fan of a lot of different players because you legitimately like to watch a lot of football, you understand what I'm saying. You see a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL that play with a lot of great talent who at times you could say, oh man, if he didn't play with this dude, would he be this great? Yada, yada, yada. I've never gotten that sense when I've watched Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, but we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Because Pat Mahomes is that guy. He better than Lamar. You know I love Lamar Jackson. Pat Mahomes is the greatest quarterback. Well, the most talented quarterback. And damn near the greatest. The man done been in the NFL for 6 years. You knock one off because he wasn't starting that first year. Alex Smith was. His 5 years of starting, he done been to the AFC Championship all 5 years. He done been to 3 Super Bowls. Let me put this in perspective for you. The only team that I've seen make a Super Bowl, not named the Patriots, 3 times in my lifetime, is the Eagles. The Eagles just got that 3rd appearance. They made it with T.O. and McNabb. That's back when Andy Reid was the coach. They made it with Doug Peterson and that phenomenal team. And now they making it this year with Big Dog Jalen Hurts and Big Dog Nick Sirianni and that phenomenal team. The only other team that I can think of, because I seen the Steelers get to the Super Bowl, I believe, two times. Maybe I seen the Steelers get there 3 times also. I can't remember at the moment. I seen them go against the Seahawks. I seen them go against the Cardinals. And I seen them go against the Packers. So I seen the Steelers also do it. I've seen the Patriots go, 6, 7 times with Tom Brady. So it's extremely, and look at how spaced out those trips are. Like the Eagles did it 2 times in 5 years, yeah, with a completely different quarterback and head coach. But then before that, it was a couple years back. Then you look at how often the Patriots did it off and on, even though they had a gap in there. It's hard to do this. Pat Mahomes done it. He done been to the Super Bowl 3 times in 5 years. In all 5 years, he done been in the AFC Championship game. This dude is on another level, bro. He's on another level. This is why I say all the time, bro. It's only one quarterback who you could put in this situation and they could be great in this situation like Mahomes, but they still wouldn't be Mahomes. And that's Lamar, because I done seen Lamar be great without the talent around him. Pat Mahomes, though, is just so, bro. Shout out Pat MaGoat, bro. They said he would not be effective if he could not move around. But you forget that he was the best quarterback in the league from the pocket. Like, it's so convenient how they decide to talk about players because they wanted Joe Burrow to win this. They was ready to anoint Joe Burrow. They was ready to do it. And MaGoat said, I'm not dead. The rumors of my demise have been greatly over-exaggerated. Pat MaGoat is him. I say it on a weekly basis, man. And it's funny that these are the 2 teams that make it. I'm so happy these are the 2 teams in the Super Bowl. But to me, the best team in the NFL all year, I done said it literally every show, is the Eagles. The best quarterback in the NFL, Pat MaGoat. Funny that they now meet in the Super Bowl. I'm not telling you who I'm picking. I'm not even going to give you a clue as to who I'm picking, bro. Because if you think I'm lifting up the Pat and the Chiefs right now, just wait till I release the Eagles video. But also, back to the Chiefs. Chris Jones. I mean, my God. If you watch this game, came into this game without a playoff sack, left the game with, I think, 3 sacks, 2 or 3 sacks in this game. Look at how, but I don't even care about some of the sacks. The sacks was big. Look at the pressures in key situations towards the end of this game. Chris Jones, this is exactly why I say it all the time. The Chiefs do not have a great defense, but they have a championship defense because in key situations throughout this tenure with Pat Mahomes, they've been able to make big plays in big situations and in big moments. They continue to do it. They picked off Joe Burrow twice last night, and both times was key interceptions because you take it away from an offense that's got a three-headed monster like that. And listen, the Chiefs didn't even score on any of those interceptions that they got. The Chiefs' offense looked discombobulated in the second half, but I never lost faith because I said Pat Mahomes is going. Now I'm gonna tell you what's very interesting. Going into that last Chiefs drive, the last Bengals drive, where they got 2 timeouts, like 3 minutes. They pick up a long third down with Hayden Hurst because nobody decided to defend him, and I get it. But listen, Tyler Boyd was out of the game at that point in time because Tyler Boyd had gotten hurt. So I know it's easy to think to yourself, oh, well, there go the game. But going into that drive, I said to myself, somebody on the Chiefs have to make a legendary play. Like they have to put together a legendary sequence. And I said to myself, this is Chris Jones' moment. I was like, this is what this all been building up to. This is Chris Jones' moment. I said that before the drive started. So imagine how I'm feeling when this, they pick up that huge third down. But look at how that drive ended. Chris Jones and the pressure he put up the middle. The pressure he was not just up the middle because they moved him to the outside too throughout the game. The way Chris Jones was able to beat his man. And I said it last week. It was somebody, who was it last week in the game? Where they just absolutely destroyed their block in order to sell all out for a play. I can't remember who it is at the moment, but Chris Jones, the way he sold completely out, and it might have been Chris Jones actually against the Jags. The way he sold all the way out, like he made. If you go back and watch those plays, it looked like a dude who putting his entire career on the line, who's saying to himself, "I have to make this play or this over for me." Like he made plays where it's like that's just like DeMarcus Lawrence a couple weeks in that game against the 49ers last week. It's just you can see the overexertion of effort. You can see that they kicking the nitrous meter on. That's how great of plays they making. That's the type of energy they putting forward. You can just see it. And Chris Jones probably was the MVP of this game, to be completely honest with you. He did it for 4 quarters. 4 quarters he found a way to be a difference maker. This is exactly what shout out to Chris Jones. This is why I have a problem with, as a Raven fan, the way that they done put money into their defense. Because the Kansas City's defense ain't getting confused as a great defense. None of these 3 times they done went to the Super Bowl, and none of the 5 years they wasn't in the AFC Championship game. But they got key players that make big time plays. You got all this talent on the Ravens, but you don't have that pass rusher like a Chris Jones that make a big time play in a big time moment, like the Nick Bosa's of the world, like the TJ Watts of the world, like the Chris Joneses of the world. That's why Chris Jones is a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. It's these type of players are the ones that you pay. Those are the difference makers in the games. And so Chris Jones had as big a game as he done ever had in his career. And he gonna be proud of it because they back in the Super Bowl. And then you look at these receivers who had to step up and be big. Marquez Valdez-Scantling done always had big games. So what he did wasn't shocking to me. You know what I'm saying? I done seen him do this with the Packers before. But I also saw how Aaron Rodgers would so easily go away from Valdez-Scantling because he did have the Devontae Adams. To see what Marquez Valdez-Scantling was able to do in this game, and to see how he was able to step up in this big moment, you got to feel great for him. Now, I think he would be a great number 2 receiver for them for the simple reason we done seen him. If you watch the Packers, you know he done had big games like this before. Like this ain't the first time. This ain't like a hot. He done had games where he probably done been even better than he was in this game. But the big catches, like the one that Pat made across the middle where he had to readjust a little bit to catch. That's just a beautiful catch that we know Scantling can make. It's just, do he get the opportunities? And is he ready when given the opportunities to remain consistent? Last night, seeing him be consistent from start to finish in the game, I was proud. I was happy for him because I'm like, this is in games like this when you're a great quarterback. I say it all the time. The quarterback is not the only person that get paid on an NFL team. I'm usually using that statement when I talk about head coaches and offensive coordinators. But now when you go into a year where the receiving position is so undermanned for the Kansas City Chiefs, but you have a legendary quarterback in Pat MaGOAT, you still cannot just say to yourself, well, he gonna figure it all out, because other people get paid too. And because the receivers get paid, it was who was gonna earn their checks this week. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling did just that, because other motherfuckers get paid too. And that's exactly what you need in these type of situations. Some dude got to step up and make plays. To look at Chris Jones, look at Marquez, Pat Mahomes. For one, I don't know why people doubt. Like, it felt like people was doubting that this dude could throw from the pocket. And I'm like, man, maybe I'm watching the wrong games or something. Because I'm like, bro, Pat Mahomes is literally the GOAT because he can pass from the pocket and outside. My thing was, I'm gonna tell you what's so. Bro, it's so weird watching these dudes on TV, bro, change narratives to fit their own thing. Because before they acted as if Pat Mahomes didn't scramble and shit like that, because that was what Lamar did. That's what made him so bad. But I always talked about how Pat Mahomes, I even had a speech on here on one of these episodes where I was like, yo, Pat Mahomes literally scrambled like Lamar. He don't do it as fluid as Lamar do it. But he scramble around like Lamar to make plays too. I would even say he do it as much as Lamar, because Lamar try to operate more so from the pocket than on the run. Plus, it helped when you got the coordinators that Pat do, so they receivers understand their assignment. When the backyard drill happen, they know what to do. The Ravens, for some reason, ain't teaching dudes what to do when the backyard shenanigans break out. But shout out to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Phenomenal game. The multiple rookies that they got playing in the secondary helped get interceptions. A key interception was the one that was tipped to either Wilson or Watson at the end of the game. Well, not the end of the game, but late in that fourth quarter when it looked like the Bengals was driving. The last drive that they had was stopped because of a tipped interception. Because you think, I saw analysts talk about how every time Joe Burrow dropped back to throw it deep, he think it's an automatic completion. And it felt like that throughout this game, because this is why I talk about these receivers, man. T. Higgins goes up over two dudes in high-pointed football with absolute ease. You look at Jamar Chase go up over two dudes with absolute ease because of how great these dudes are at attacking the football. You see T. Higgins have his stretch throughout the game where he just going up over dudes. Like, this is why, and listen, I forgive you if you somebody who legitimately do not watch the Bengals that much, so it's just easy for you to buy into the Joe Burrow hype. Because Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. But because I'm a Raven fan and I've been watching the Bengals for years and I watch the Bengals play, period, these three receivers, bro, are all number one receivers. It's just two of them have to walk around masquerading as a 2 and a 3. That's the thing. The scariest thing about these three dudes is that they do everything perfect, bro, or damn near perfect. And another scary thing is they can all play from the slot or from either side of the field. They're not stationary. Tyler Boyd can play outside. He can play in the slot. Higgins can play outside. He can play in the slot. Jamar Chase can play outside. He can move into the slot. Like, they can do the receiver screens. They can go deep. They can work the middle of the field. They can do the intermediate routes. They can take 2-yard routes for 20 yards. They can take 16-yard routes for 50 yards. They can take 8-yard routes to the crib for 70 yards. Like, they can run the perfect routes. They get great separation at the end of their routes. They can high point the football as good as any receivers in football. The talent that the Cincinnati Bengals have at the receiving position is so overwhelmingly great that it take more than just talent to be able to go out there and beat them. So shout out to Steve Spagnuolo, who had an unbelievable game plan on how to at least limit them from all killing you at the same time. When I talked about the Boston Celtics last year and as to why I did not think they was going to win the finals, It wasn't just because I was a Steph Curry fan, but it was because I said to that moment, I've never seen Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in a meaningful game both go off at the same time throughout the duration of the game. Usually Jason Tatum have a great first quarter, Jaylen Brown have a great second quarter. Jaylen Brown have a great third quarter, Jason Tatum it's never both of them give you big buckets in the first quarter. Both of them go crazy in the second quarter. Both of them go crazy in the third quarter, and then both of them take it home. Because if that was the case, this would have been a championship team already. But when you can as a team, as an opposing team, know that you only have to find a way to defend one of these dudes on a quarter-to-quarter basis, you don't have to commit to going all out to defend both of them for both quarters because that's not the level they own yet, then that's completely different than having to defend both of them at the same time. It makes a huge difference when you can defend them one at a time rather than both at a time, because it helped dudes stay fresh. It helped you be able to actually set different type of game plans towards it, because it's just too difficult to defend two dudes that's both going off at the same time throughout the entirety of a game. That's why it was hard to stop KD Curry. That's why it was hard to stop LeBron Kyrie. That's why it was hard to stop Shaq Kobe, because you had to deal with both of them for 4 quarters, not one of them for 2 quarters and the other one for the other 2 quarters. It just make a huge difference. So shout out to Steve Spagnuolo. That was a great adjustments and all that type of thing. And also, because I do it so much, I still got to shout out Lou Anarumo, because that was a great defensive game plan I feel like he had. Now, obviously, you playing against Pat Mahomes had receivers coming in who you never in a million years thought coming into the season would have been in these situations because of the injuries. But Lou Anarumo still had a great game plan. Now, I know a lot of people talking about the Joseph Asai play at the end of the game. For one, if you're a Bengals fan and you bitching about that, something's wrong with you. I see how y'all bitch about Joe Burrow getting hit, which I don't even think that other hit that Frank Clark had on Joe Burrow was a late hit. I'm glad the refs didn't call that. But this dude, Joseph Asai, pushes Pat Mahomes when he already clear out of bounds. I don't know what y'all expected to happen. That's always going to get called. And I just don't know. I don't understand what y'all was expecting. But this brings up a great moment into what I said when we was talking about the Chargers game. And I done said it in other games. It's these little moments and these situations where you don't think of as being big. But if you had better discipline, because all these little moments matter in the playoffs, little moments that you could get away with in the regular season, that you can get away with in meaningless games. You just do not get away with these moments. And because all these moments end up building up to the bigger puzzle, and they always seem to matter. They like the puzzle piece you can never find, but you know, as soon as you find it, everything gonna start falling into place. That's why Joey Bosa not being able to control his emotions is a problem. That's why Joseph Asai not being able to stop himself. And this ain't even one of the situations where, like, you saw him out of bounds. Like, you see he clearly headed out of bounds. So why even continue to pursue him at full speed? Why not just go ahead and change directions before you even get that close to him to potentially get called for that? It's situations like that that lose you games in the playoffs. The Bengals know this because they had Vontaze Burfict, who cost them games in the playoffs, because situations where you just cannot seem to contain yourself or control yourself lead to losses in the playoffs, because they might not seem like big moments in the situation or in the moment, but they always turn out to be big moments at the end of the game. And so, listen, and I see the people trying to defend him because I saw the Jermaine Pratt video. But for one, I'm not finna, like, bro, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. I think Emmanuel Acho might be the worst analyst on TV, bro. And it's a lot of bad analysts. There's just a lot of bad analysts that you don't really need to give really time to. But because he's such a prominent figure on TV, bro, like, I despise this dude, bro. I really despise this dude. I think he is terrible at his job. The way he fished for reasons to hate on people is just ridiculous. When he don't have a point, or when people immediately disprove his point, he fish for just these absurd, outrageous ways to try to continue to make a point for himself. And he done smoothed the goalpost about 50 million times throughout the argument or the debate. Like, I just think this dude is the worst. But nonetheless, dudes like him who try to attack Jermaine Pratt for missing a tackle in a game that led to a big yardage because Jermaine Pratt was angry for about Asai making a boneheaded play is not the same thing. Missing a tackle in a game, in the confines of a game, was not an illegal thing that's going to get you a flag drawn. However, Pat Mahomes already picking up a good chunk of yards, and then you making a boneheaded play by pushing him after he already out of bounds and not just letting the play in right there. That, however, is going to draw you a flag. It's two different situations that you would think a dude who was in the NFL would know. But I digress. To the Chiefs defense. Another great day for the Chiefs defense, in my opinion, bro. Yes, obviously they had bad moments where those three receivers made them look bad. Every single I done seen Marlon Humphreys look like a terrible cornerback against those three dudes, bro. That's just gonna happen when you going up against that level of talent. That's just gonna happen. Burrow made some very accurate misses in this game. Like, it's some throws that Joe Burrow missed that was dead ass. Like, it hit the receivers clean in the hands. But to the Bengals, to the Chiefs defense, at the end of the day, they still found a way to get it done. And this is what I'm saying. Last week, when Pat got hurt, the Chiefs defense stood up against the Jags. This is what the Chiefs defense continue to be my point. Now, I know some people won't like them as my example when I talk about you don't need a all-pro type of defense with multiple Pro Bowlers on your defense. I'm telling you don't need it. I didn't say if you don't have it, you can have success with it, because look at the Philadelphia Eagles. The last two times the Philadelphia Eagles made the playoffs, they had a lot of great players on that defense, specifically that defensive line. Now, this defense, they got people everywhere. Don't get it twisted. Just because I say specifically defensive line, they got cornerbacks and they got safeties. But the Chiefs, other than Tyrann Mathieu and some other good parts along the way, they haven't had like a top-notch defense the last couple years. This is a defense that can be moved. Like, I think they gave up the most passing touchdowns this year. But when the games matter the most, they step up and make plays. That is a true championship level defense. Beating all these teams throughout the season, holding them to less than this amount of points, what did that matter when you get to the playoffs and you start letting teams go nuts? When you're not making those same big time plays you was making throughout the season. The plays that the Chiefs don't make throughout the season, they make in the playoffs. That's what separates them. Which is why I always talk about how I got a problem with how Baltimore spend on defense and not on Lamar Jackson in that offense. Because when you have a great defense, that's not guaranteeing you, especially because Baltimore don't even spend on a position like the Eagles did. The Eagles went out and got pass rushes, bro. The Ravens ain't got no pass rushes. It was 4 different dudes on the Eagles that had double-digit sacks this year, and Hassan Reddick is an absolute stud. The Ravens ain't going out and getting them type of pass rushes. That's why they don't close out games good on defense, because they ain't got a legitimate pass rusher. They let both of them go because they cheap. They didn't want to pay Matthew Judon, one of the top pass rushers in football since leaving Baltimore. They didn't want to pay Zadarius Smith, one of the top pass rushers in football since leaving Baltimore. They didn't want to pay them type of dudes. The Eagles pay those type of dudes, and look where the Eagles headed to once again. They paid those type of dudes to 5 years ago when they made it before. The Eagles and Howie Roseman and them, they know how to build a championship team. It don't take them long to identify how to build a championship team. Whereas the Chiefs have the ability to rely on vets and a legendary quarterback in Pat Mahomes. The Eagles had to understand we have a great quarterback, a franchise quarterback. We don't got a Pat Mahomes who can just make a... Listen, he can get us to the playoffs because he's good enough. But we want to make this as easy as possible for him to have success. So what do? You bolster your offensive line that's already one of the best offensive lines in football, with 2 of the best offensive linemen the game has ever seen in Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. you bolster that defensive line and you bring in 2 good run stoppers and Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh off the streets while having Sweat and Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, who both of those 2 dudes been there, done that, about to go to the Super Bowl again with the Eagles. Like you go out and get a trade for a Darius Slay. You go out and sign a James Bradbury. Look at all the different type of moves they make. You go out and you draft a Devontae Smith. You go out and trade for A.J. Brown. You go out and re-sign a Dallas Goedert. You go and you trade away Zach Ertz to make Dallas Goedert the new focal point of the tight end room because he is that great. You go out and you keep Miles Sanders and you continue to bolster your running back position. Like, the Eagles know how to build a championship team. They knew what they was missing was a quarterback. And so once they realized Jalen Hurts could get us to the playoffs, they knew Jalen Hurts can get us to the Super Bowl. And they properly built around him. Something that the Ravens didn't do for Lamar Jackson in 4 years. See, that's why I get mad when people keep telling me that Lamar Jackson, they built this team around Lamar. They built it. No. The Eagles built that team around Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson is a generational quarterback and has yet to be able to play with a number 1 receiver. His running back position done been iffy every single year. His offensive line has been iffy every year except for 2. What? But we keep praising the Ravens. But you look at a team like the Eagles and what they done for the quarterbacks that's done played on their teams. They last 3 Super Bowls. 3 different head coaches, 3 different starting quarterbacks, 3 different receiving cores. Terrell Owens was on the first one. Alshon Jeffries was on that second one. AJ Green on this one. You can pinpoint the great moves all throughout this. They traded for T.O. They traded for Alshon. No, I think they signed Alshon. No, they traded for him, I believe. Traded for A.J. Green. They understand that in order to get great receiver talent, the game-changing talent, you got to go out and trade for it. And if you're good enough, if you're lucky enough, you can go out and get you a Devontae Smith in a draft too. If you smart enough and got the people in place to develop good enough, you can develop you a Dallas Goedert after having a Zach Ertz for that long. If you're a great enough organization that have players loving being there, you can keep you those Lane Johnsons and Jason Kelce's of the world. And you remain faithful in them even when they going through their injury stints. Like, it would have been so easy for them to give up on Lane Johnson. But look at what Lane Johnson just did against Nick Bosa. And he ain't even 100% right now. The Eagles done shown us time and time again they are one of the most well-run franchises in the NFL. And you know what? I take a lot of shots at Philadelphia sports fans, New York sports fans. But I understand that because you have fans like that, they bring an expectation. Let me ignore the fact that they boo their own fans for a moment and bring the fact that look at the expectation that's there when you have those type of fans. You could get the fans like Baltimore that's going to cheer the fan, that's going to cheer the player and then eventually turn on the player for the team. Or you can have the fans that are diehards for their players and they don't absolve their teams. They hold their teams accountable because they want to see winning just like the team is used to winning. They have a standard of winning. The Philadelphia Phillies got to the World Series this year and lost in 6. And then the same follow-up year basically for sports in the same sports year, calendar year basically. I understand it's 2023, but the season for the NFL started in 2022. The Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, are now in the playoff, in the Super Bowl because of great moves by the management teams. Look at the moves that the Phillies made in the offseason. Look at the moves that the Eagles made in the offseason. A sports town that's been conditioned to understand what it takes to win, to go all out when they had that opportunity to win because the fans demand nothing less. And maybe if we had those type of fans in Baltimore, I get irritated with them booing the players. But if they held the organization accountable like some of these other cities and fans do, boy, imagine how much talent Lamar would have around him right now. And then obviously on a completely different opposite side of the spectrum is the Chiefs. I don't think they haven't built around Pat. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think, obviously they don't have to build an Eagles type of team because you do have a Pat, I was going to say Pat McAfee. You do have a Pat Mahomes, the GOAT. You do have him. So, and you have Travis Kelce, like I said, the greatest tight end of all time, in my opinion. I don't care what nobody say. That's the greatest tight end I've ever seen with my own 2 fucking eyes. So listen, shout out to Gronk and Shannon Sharp and all these other great tight ends that I done seen. Travis Kelce, I've seen nobody do it better. His ability to route run. He can play inside. He can play outside. You can move him out there to the receiving position. He can block. He can run routes as good as any tight end. He got as big a catch radius as any tight end. He can go up the field. He can go work the middle of the field. He can do the short routes and take them for deep yards. He is just as much his quarterback's best friend and most trusted target as any tight end was today quarterback. Like, Travis Kelce is him. And I am certain that is the greatest tight end I've ever watched in my lifetime. Always available. Shout out to Travis Kelce, man. Had to get a drink right there. My throat was a little dry. You know, you dig what I'm saying? But shout out to Travis Kelce, bro. Just an absolute demon on the field. But this game for the Chiefs and the I know I was talking about, I went off on a little tangent right there talking about the Eagles and whatnot, but back to this Chiefs to finish up the Chiefs and the Bengals. A well-played game, but at the end of the day, like I said, the greatness of Pat MaGOAT was going to rise up and get this dub. My faith never wavered. My faith never was shaken. Because I know what Pat MaGOAT is, bro. That motherfucker is him. Timothy MaGOAT. And congratulations to Andy Reid, the enemy, Spagnola, the whole Chiefs coaching staff, the Chiefs fans. Like, bro, you know how people like to say you deserve this, you deserve that, you deserve. I don't really tend to say shit like that because I think whoever get there deserve it because it was hard work put in by every team, even the Astros. But boy, the Chiefs deserve this, man. The Chiefs fucking deserve this. The Chiefs deserve this, bro. I appreciate a team that understand they got Pat Mahomes. Now, like I said, not happy that they let Tyreek Hill walk. But I am so happy that they have realized that, bro, they even tried to go out and replenish talent around Pat Mahomes throughout the offseason and the regular season. So it ain't like they were satisfied with just trading him away in the offseason, with trading away Tyreek. They went out and tried to get talent. They knew they wasn't getting a Tyreek Hill, but they knew they could get good enough talent to try to make up for lacking other areas. And when you do that for Pat MaGOAT, when you truly go out of your way to try to help your quarterback, your great quarterback, he do shit like he did last game, bro. Where all his receivers get hurt and he still say, don't matter, bro. It don't matter. Ankle hurt, I'm still gonna run for this. I'm still gonna run for this. Because like Lamar Jackson said, when you take care of something good, that something good takes care of you. And then ultimately, the football gods take care of you. I just love this Chiefs organization, bro. I really do. I rave about him all the time. Pat MaGOAT is the perfect quarterback in my opinion. It's just silly at this point, anybody who still got any nitpicks with him. This dude is him. These type of performances is exactly why he is him. Shout out to the Chiefs. 5 starts, 5 AFC championships, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl trophy, could be getting a second one. Shout out to the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. And on the Philadelphia side of things, listen, bro, I've been telling you all season, this is the best team in the NFL. And I feel bad for Brock Purdy, who it just was announced he tore his UCL, his unicollateral ligament. I think is how you pronounce it. He might end up having to get Tommy John surgery, I believe. That's because that's that shit that pitchers get in baseball. He'll probably be good after that, but that will lead me into a Tom Brady discussion later on, because I do believe that Tom Brady should now be a 1-year option for the San Francisco 49ers. But nonetheless, I do kind of feel bad about that, but at the end of the day, it's football, baby. And it ain't like it was some freak accident. It was a football play. Hassan Reddick made a play. Now you know, don't block Hassan Reddick with a tight end. It makes no sense. So And then Johnson came in. Josh Johnson came in. He was concussed in the third quarter, so he had to come out. Eventually, Brock, they tinkered with having. They was talking about letting C-Mac playing quarterback, Juice playing quarterback. If you don't know who that is, that's Kyle Juszczyk. Eventually, Purdy came back in, but he couldn't throw. When he did throw, he threw it like a yard. Dude was standing right in front of him. So it is unfortunate that your season, like George Kittle said at the end of the in the press conference, the post game interview, like it sucked to have your season come down every year to not having a quarterback. That is tough. But as you know, going into the game, Purdy was healthy, and I picked the Eagles to win this, meaning that I thought even if Purdy was healthy, that the Eagles were going to win. So the thing is, the Eagles defense, to me, don't play less bad if Purdy playing. They were able to stop the run. They was able to stop the pass. And at the end of the day, I said it. When you have two defenses that play, because I think the 49ers played a great game defensively. At the end of the day, though, eventually, the better quarterback with the better weapons and the better, scoring offense is going to find a way to win. Unless you got a Pat Mahomes playing quarterback, I just don't see how you can overcome certain things. I always say, if you got Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, that's one thing. If you got either of those two dudes and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, that's a whole nother thing. You don't have those. Plus, I think Jalen Hurts is in that next level of quarterback. So ultimately, I'm always going to go with the better quarterback to win the game when I feel like the teams is an evenly based team. And I don't necessarily think that the teams is even. I think it's that San Francisco defense is freakishly good. Ward probably played his best game of the season this game after struggling a little bit in these previous games. I think he played a great game this game. But at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts even struggled at times in this game. But he did exactly what he needed to do to win, because the Eagles are a team that when one side of the ball struggle, the other team's side of the ball can play good. For one, they had 3 sacks in the first quarter. I told you multiple times, bro. That Eagles defensive line that can just rotate players in and out like they did last time they got to the Super Bowl and won it. That's a real thing, bro, to have to defend fresh dudes all the time. You having to defend fresh dudes for an entirety of a game is hell. Hell, most dudes, you defending a superstar player, he'll start the game off at 100%, and he'll hit these moments. He'll have big moments in the game where he exert energy where you like, yo, this dude went into a second gear. But for the most part, by the end of the game, you done faced him he'd been tired for about 50% of the game at that point in time. You having to face dudes who at 80, 60, 70% because they get to interchange so much, that's just hell. And the 49ers offensive line was never up for that challenge from the beginning to the end of the game. And I think that was always going to make the difference. That's why I ultimately picked them. And not to mention, like I said, I'm just going with the better quarterback. I like Brock Purdy. But overall, I'm taking Jalen Hurts. And so, shout out to the 49ers and a great season. I feel bad for Kyle Shanahan because it feels like his entire tenure as the San Francisco 49ers head coach has been it's been summed up by injuries at his quarterback position. Like his most important positions always get hurt. Like I don't know what he can possibly do about that. And it's always in situations where he can't possibly coach up. We didn't think he could do what he did with Brock Purdy, bro. And look what he did. And then Brock Purdy get a UCL injury to start the game. Like, you can't make this shit up. He got to be the most cursed head coach of all time. I really be feeling bad for Kyle Shanahan, but shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Headed back to grease them poles, even though that shit's not going to work. Shit's not going to work. You got to put some, I'm not going to say that. But listen, this is going to be a great Super Bowl. I can't wait. Both teams deserve to be here. 2 African-American quarterbacks. I think this is the first time that 2 African-American quarterbacks is starting in the Super Bowl. Both of them was the first and second MVPs for the season. Both of them deserve to be here. For Pat Mahomes, if he win, it's just another stripe on an absolutely legendary career so far to his career. Jalen Hurts win. What a you win in college, you win in the NFL. Like what a leader, what a start to a career for him also. But I mean, just absolutely amazing to see so many young quarterbacks make it to the Super Bowl these last couple years. Seeing Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey, two dudes who I've been watching my entire life, it feel like, be dominant. To see them get an opportunity to win another Super Bowl is dope. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox also. Just absolutely phenomenal. Jason Kelsey versus Travis Kelsey, the greatest tight end I've ever seen in my lifetime, with probably the best center I've ever seen in my lifetime. Just a phenomenal Super Bowl, bro. So many legends on so many different levels. Like Nick Sirianni taking on the former Eagles head coach in Andy Reid. Andy Reid done been nothing short of legendary since being the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the greatest coaching hires in NFL history at this point. Two absolutely deserving teams. It'll be a very interesting game. And I'll give you my pick on that later on in the week. But with that being said, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. You can be anything in the world, man. So choose to be kind to somebody today, man. Saint out.
Soft. Overrated. Pretty boy. A bitch.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy, scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber, you out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.